We'll get her going here.
Successful. You're good to go.
Look at
Got
that.
it.
This meeting is being live streamed.
Got it.
Interesting. I got that. Yeah. Welcome everybody to the November meeting of the Nottawa Community Center, Memorial Community Center. I guess Memorial is most important given the time of year. The mayor isn't joining us tonight. He's in Meaford, where I was about 2 hours ago. Did everybody get an opportunity to see the agenda?
Yes.
Yes.
Carrie, you want to make a motion, and seconded by Calvin, all in favor? Yay, everybody. Any disclosure of pecuniary interest? I think maybe Patrice, because we're still trying to find the check. If we discuss that.
I'm becoming famous.
Yeah, if we discuss that, we'll have to have there's no vote probably, but if we do, you'll likely have some pecuniary interest there.
Yeah, but does it take away your quorum if I have?
No, you're good. We're not going to vote on anything anyway, so it doesn't matter.
Okay, good.
Yeah. Oh, they've changed the wording to disqualifying interest. Interesting. Minutes. Did everybody see the minutes? I have no idea if they're right or wrong. I was away.
Yes. Yes.
Yep. Carrie wants to make a motion to approve those minutes. Calvin wants to second. All in favor? Everybody but Carrie too. Business arising from the minutes. I had a conversation with Amanda, I don't know, a couple weeks ago about reopening and what needs to be done and at all. And she gave me a whole lot of information. So I just asked her to join us to come and give you guys the same information she gave me. It was unbelievable, like the stuff. So anyway, I will, if Amanda's here, I'll pass it over to her. Oh, there she is.
Okay, well, thank you. Thank you, Jason, and good evening, everybody. So I am here tonight to be a resource, and thank you for putting me early on your agenda so that I can maybe give you some highlight overviews of the COVID-19 protocols as it relates to the provincial government safe reopening plan. So I believe Kayla, in your agenda package included most of the up-to-date components. So one of the things that is really of importance to the Nottawa Hall Board and to all of our small hall boards is the designation that as recreation facilities, you actually fall under a couple different categories as it relates to the safe reopening plan. So for some of your rentals, you'd be considered a recreation facility. For example, if you had the return of yoga classes or fitness classes, they would have to follow the rec program and rec facility requirements. If you were going to host a public gathering or a public meeting, then you would fall under the meetings and gathering category. Interestingly, the provincial government has even classified concert venues, theater, cultural programming centers as a separate category. So if you were to hold live music or concerts, then there are different stipulations related to those, that venue. And then lastly would be any of those religious services or ceremonies, which throughout the entire COVID pandemic have had the least amount of restrictions to ensure that, as Ontarians and as Canadians, we have the ability to continue to practice our religious services and ceremonies in any venue, whether it's a actual bricks and mortar place of worship or locations like community halls that act as those places of worship. So that's kind of the starting point that I wanted to emphasize, that as the Nottawa Hall, when you're developing your rental contracts and the safety plan that Calvin and I had gone through, it's really important that you keep in mind that there are sometimes different rules that apply based on the type of event or rental or activity that you're hosting. The other thing I just like to emphasize, which has not changed throughout these last 12 to 18 months, have been those standardized COVID protocols. So Mask wearing is mandatory when indoors. There's very few exemptions related to that. However, if you're actively eating and drinking, you can remove your mask. Because our facilities are owned by the township, our proof of vaccination policy is in effect for all individuals that are entering the facility. So that's you guys as volunteers, but also service contractors, obviously us as employees, but also the general public who are attending those specific types of events or rentals that require proof of vaccination. Physical distancing, so keeping that 6 meter distance, and the actual physical capacity or the room capacities of each of the halls. For the most part, those are not applicable anymore based on the gathering limits being relaxed for indoor events, for meetings and gatherings, concerts, food premises, recreation programming. So all those kind of categories that your Nottawa Hall Board would fall under, there aren't those physical distancing and capacity limits into effect anymore. I guess one of the reasons why Jason and I were talking is that although the provincial government allows you to have these restrictions removed from your board, you do have the ability to make your own policies. So if you choose not to go back to 100% capacity, but you still have that comfort level, you can do so as long as it's, communicated, the signs are posted, how you treat one renter is similar to how you would treat other renters. So there's that kind of fairness and equity that you want to consider if you're going to create, make a decision that goes outside of the regulation. And then, are there any questions yet? Because the very last point is going to be a really big one. You guys are good so far? Okay. What I noticed in your agenda package was an email that I had sent to the hall boards. And in this case, I have two contacts, Jason and Calvin. And that was dated on November 3rd. So it was just 1 week ago. And it was about clarification around the responsible person's designation. So I'm sure you recall over the last few months, the responsible person was understood to be an individual, a staff member, a volunteer, or a contractor acting on behalf of the municipality to undertake all of the COVID protocols to ensure that those regulations were being followed. Typically, we as staff, we had pushed that authority onto the hall boards, and a member of the board was the one that was sitting at the front door doing the contact tracing, checking proof of vaccinations, ensuring mask wearing was implemented, those types of things. We recognize that that has put an undue hardship on our volunteers. So the CAO Ferguson, has received a legal comment that has allowed us to transfer the responsibility of these COVID regulations to a designated person. So the purpose of my most recent email on November 3rd was to outline the reclassification of what that user, the ultimate user, the designated person would actually be, and to ensure that as the board, if you were going to move forward with this, the user group would then have to have that one specific person, so an actual name and contact who becomes the ultimate user of the rental. They would assume all the responsibilities of following COVID regulations. It would certainly reduce any of the expectations from you as volunteers to have to be at every single event. I think it also takes away that uncomfortableness that you as volunteers are there, to oversee the hall. You're there to help plan and execute events. You're really passionate about the village of Nottawa and everything that you have to stand for. You don't need to be the person at the front door enforcing all of these rules, because by essence, you've transferred that responsibility to the primary user or the ultimate user of the hall. So that is one major change in direction that we've undertaken, and we've been allowed to do that because our legal team has said that we can do that. And by creating a one-page form and adding it to your rental agreements, that's our way to protect you guys as volunteers, to protect the hall, of course, but as well ensure that we can start to open up and have more rentals and more activities at your facility and the other facilities that are in Clearview Township. So tonight's it's not really a presentation. I just wanted to explain really high level some of the different regulations, how it can be effectively managed by you guys as the volunteers. And of course, at any point in the reopening, you can choose to follow the regulations right to a T. You can create your own policy or your own recommendation. You can do a soft, I'm calling it like a soft launch or a soft reintegration. So you might allow a particular type of rental to start, but then exclude other types of higher risk rentals. Again, that's really up to you guys to determine. And we're here just as a resource. So I'm open to questions. And oh, Patrice, sorry, Jason, do you want me just to answer or just jump in? Okay, go ahead. Patrice.
Okay, so when you transfer the responsibility to the people holding the event, are they signing a contract that they acknowledge acceptance? And are they then legally, is there liability for them?
Yes. Is there a chance for me to share my screen, Kayla? Can I do that?
Already ahead of you. I got it up.
Okay, fantastic. So this transferring responsibility declaration is exactly that, Patrice.
Okay.
It's not in legal jargon. We really, I'll be honest, I worked really hard to keep this as a one-pager, super simple for you as hall volunteers, as Adam and Calvin to be basically the booking agents that work with the groups. But ultimately, or I shouldn't use the word ultimately, regardless, it will be the ultimate user. So the person's this is a person's name, their contact information, their phone number, their signature that holds them responsible to ensure that the COVID protocols are being followed. And I've just included, you know, those top 7, top 8 items that we've been stressing throughout this entire pandemic, but there is a caveat. One, they do need to make sure that they are up to date on those local and provincial health regulations. So there's a little bit of knowledge sharing that has to happen between the booking agent and the ultimate user. And secondly, at any point, whether it's municipal bylaw, a public health inspector, or another provincial enforcement officer can attend any public event. And if they deem the COVID regulations not to be followed, then the ultimate user could be fined. And held accountable for that. Mm-hmm. And there would be no protection from the town of, from Clearview Township to, you know, pay those costs or to protect them, because we've done our due diligence by giving you the information, by creating the safety plan, by giving you physical resources like the actual, you know, hand sanitizer, cleaning documents, capacity signs, things like that. It would be the ultimate user's responsibility to follow those protocols. Does that answer your question, or did I get too in depth?
No, that's exactly what I was looking for. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes, Counselor.
That would be no different than if there was like a bar there and someone was responsible for the liquor license. Really, somebody has to sign for it. So, or if an indemnity clause for breaking something, it wouldn't be any different than that, really, when you think about it. So it's not that big of a deal, I don't think. That's just my thoughts. That's great. Thanks, Amanda.
You're welcome. And that's exactly it. We did try to make it simple enough that someone would understand. You take on the responsibility as an individual if you're having a Jack and Jill and have a liquor license. liquor enforcement or liquor control enforcement officers can come in. If they realize that things aren't being followed, then fines can be imposed. Likewise, if you're hosting an event and you exceed the noise bylaw and our bylaw enforcement officers attend that event and fines are imposed, there would be no difference. So, and that was the, truly when it came down to it, that was the stance of our legal interpretation, working with our legal counsel, that these types of regulations are in effect for lots of different things. This would be no different.
I'm just really pleased that you've got it fine tuned in a document. That's what I was looking for. So that's great.
So I have
I'm
a
really
couple-
pleased. Sorry, Calvin, go ahead.
Yeah, I just had a couple of questions in regards to the safety plan and SOP events. Essentially, when we started creating the safety plan, we were looking at putting up maximum occupancy stickers all over the place. We still had our social distancing stickers down on the floor. Is all that stuff still required if we're not going to rent to, say, a sports type activity, so we don't become a gym? Is that the only time that we are, like, essentially the only rental we would have where we would have to have that stuff going on? And does that mean we would now have to go in and put those stickers up the day that that event's happening and come and take them down the next day if a different event's happening?
Why not just leave them up?
Yeah. Calvin, those are really great questions. And that's part of the confusion when it comes to these regulations. So there are no capacity limits now for a gathering, even if it does include an event with alcohol. So in essence, the max capacity of the Nottawa Hall is about 160 people, if I'm not mistaken. About that, or 140. Believe it or not, if that's the regulatory capacity, then that is what's allowed under even this new regulation.
Okay, good to know.
Yeah,
And that's even, so gymnasiums and places where you work out, they're no longer any capacity limits either?
So gyms, like with gym equipment, there are some capacity limits, but fitness, if you were doing yoga, no, there is not.
Perfect.
But Doug Ford came out today pulling back on capacity limits, or not expanding capacity limits for about 4 to 6 different categories. Are you up to date on that today?
Yes, thanks, Patrice. So yes, so today's announcement, we were anticipating this happening. If, again, following along the initial reopening exit plan to reopening, identified November 15th as the next milestone to expand capacity. And those were things like nightclubs, strip bars,
sex shops, I saw.
Sex shops, wedding receptions. That was a bit of an interesting one. I'm going to have to do a little bit more digging into what they mean by that, because, you know, ceremonies and receptions have always been seen differently. But the real key to that came down to dancing and the physical contact between people. So it's pretty much assumed that when you are in a food premise, you're participating in recreation programming, you're doing an art class, you're going to the theater, that you're still not in physical touch, physically touching somebody else. And whereas those other 4 to 6 areas that the Ford government has identified, which was already included in the exit plan, they've just said, we're not ready to allow capacity limits to be reduced, nor are we allowing some of those places to completely reopen, go back to normal operations. I don't think that affects you guys, but if it does, we might need to have a different conversation. So that capacity rules, I don't think affect you. The capacity limits that were reduced last week were all related to outdoor events and gatherings. So remember, During the reopening plan, it was capped at 100 people. Now there is no restrictions until you're at a venue over 200,000 people, which doesn't apply to anybody in Clearview Township. So at this point, I would just encourage you, despite the fact that there's no mandate, I would still just encourage that if you can't maintain physical distancing, still to wear a mask, because it's the right thing to do and it protects everybody. Obviously, stay home if you're unwell. If you have symptoms, self-isolate, seek medical attention. So kind of all of those standard things that we've been doing really well, we need to continue doing even as capacity limits are reduced. If that kind of makes sense.
Yeah,
So
we
we
were
still-
thinking, sorry, Calvin, we were thinking about changing the Arts and Craft Beer Festival to the Arts and Crafts Sex Shop, but you know,
It's
might
actually
be a way we
separate-
make a little more money.
So as for the safety plan, we still require the safety plan to be posted up somewhere where it's visible. But it's really just about contact tracing now that there's a person taking responsibility. So it could really be watered down from what we had done together, right?
It really is, like, all of that effort and time now. You know, it was valuable at the point. It was really crucial that you go through those steps. But yeah, essentially, I can sit with you and go through those questions again. But you'll quickly find that it's very repetitive as long as you kind of maintain what I like to think is those top 7 key things: mask wearing, the physical distancing when it's possible, the frequent cleaning of touch surfaces and high contact points, contact tracing, the responsible person, proof of vaccination where applicable. You know, those are kind of the areas that we really just need to ensure in the safety plan.
Okay, so I'll work on the safety plan based on the new guidelines, and then I'll just send it to you because I think I have a good idea of pretty much what we need and what I can get rid of.
Mhm.
And if we need to meet afterwards, we can catch up or do a Zoom or
Yep.
whichever.
Absolutely, for sure.
So it really sounds to me that we're at a point now where we can reopen, and that makes me happy. That's for sure. And I hope it makes us all happy because there's no more liability on us, and that's other than the usual liability, and that makes me smile. We can start to have a little bit of income again.
And we meet our purpose,
Yeah,
the reason we exist.
that's right.
Yeah.
That's right. So we can maybe change the automatic response on the email and change the sign on the hall. This would 2 more things that will make me very happy. Awesome. Thank you so much, Amanda. I really appreciate you coming in. I could have tried to do all that, but I'd have never got it right.
That's
I'm grateful.
okay. I have been literally thrown into COVID protocols for the last 21 months. So I'm very much a resource. So please, if there are one-off questions, don't hesitate. I know you both are very good, but for any of the hall board members, don't hesitate to reach out. I can easily go through the regulations. It's just our best interpretation of the information. So, but if there's kind of unusual situations, then we can talk about it. I do believe, if I'm not mistaken, you guys will need to still pass a resolution to reopen if you're going to choose to do that for all types of rentals, events, and activities. I believe your last resolution was just related to one particular rental contract, being the catering company, if I'm not mistaken. So I would just encourage you, just for good governance, that if you are planning on moving forward with completely reopening, that you just pass a resolution, and it helps give me as staff some more direction to work closely with you.
Amanda, can I just ask one question? I'm just envisioning, say, a Buck and Doe. And if we were at our capacity, which I think, because they have to have both floors, I think we're about 220, if I'm not mistaken.
I don't remember.
It's still no, Jay? No?
I just don't remember.
I think
It's been so
is.
long since we've had more than 12 people in the place that I don't even remember.
I'm just trying to envision it, but it is still a regulation that your mask is on. Am I mistaken? Unless you're seated and are consuming a beverage. Okay.
That is correct. Yes.
I'm picturing the mingling and the people standing up and wanting to drink their drink and masks are down and masks are off and, okay. I just wanted to make sure I had that right.
Yeah, so Carrie, that's probably the one question I do get from a lot of the halls. There's still that apprehension. I guess it's not so much a question, it's more of an apprehension, and allowing those types of events and activities in your hamlet or your village. I would, have a good conversation with your board members, find out really what is your comfort level. You have the ability to restrict those capacities. So even if it is 220, I can, there are other halls that are saying, well, wait a minute, we're not comfortable at that amount. We're going to keep it at X number of people. So, but then that becomes, you transfer that delegation or that responsibility to the delegated person to ensure that they only maintain that capacity, and your capacity limit signage is posted at the door, that kind of stuff. So,
And would be in the contract. You would
Yes, it
put
would
that
be
in
in
the
the contract.
contract.
Yes.
Thanks, Amanda.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. Such good information. Like, we don't always get great information in this because usually we fly through these meetings, but tonight this was really good. I mean, I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Yes, we all do.
Alcohol served upstairs is 130 person. Alcohol served downstairs is 80 persons. Put them together, 210.
Yeah,
Very close, Carrie. I thought you said 220, right?
pretty good. Pretty good. And Amanda, if you want to take off now, I'll see you tomorrow.
Yes.
And
Thanks so much, Amanda.
thank you.
Thank you very much. And again, thank you to you guys as volunteers. You really have been carrying the weight. So I really appreciate that. So thanks to Jason and Calvin. You guys have really asked good questions, and I'm happy to help. And Patrice, Carrie, Felice, nice to see you guys as well. So you guys have a great night and enjoy the rest of your week.
Thank you.
Take care. Thanks for coming.
All right, so I guess we need a little discussion on reopening. I have no issues really with our capacities. I think that it spaces you out pretty good. So we can open for everything. We can open for buck and does. We can open for beer festivals. We can open for everything. So I don't know if anyone has any apprehension to any of that, but as long as the liabilities on someone else, I'm good with, going as much as we can.
Do we
I don't-
do we want to look at each rental, or just maybe help Adam discuss them? No, just you want to just let them go.
Yeah, well,
Yeah, as long as
yeah.
that.
As long as we fit the provincial guidelines, I'm open to opening.
Okay.
That's just my opinion. I don't know what others think.
Yeah, I'm
So
good
there's-
to get open to and start using the facility again and let it be used by the community. Like I said, I do have to get that safety plan together because it does need to be changed. So I need a couple days to do that. I mean, we
Yeah.
can pass a resolution to open, but that doesn't necessarily mean we're renting tomorrow, right?
No,
'Cause
no,
we
of
can't
course not.
rent until
Of course not.
that is up and posted and done properly. And I'll need someone to print it for me. Just put
Well,
that
we can
out
always
there.
send that to Amanda or to Kayla, and maybe they can help us with that too, for printing.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah.
And I have
And-
a proposed resolution that might fit your
Thank you.
concerns that you're discussing.
Yeah. Just because we pass a resolution doesn't mean that we can close the doors anytime we want. That's sort of as a board, we can do that. And we don't need a resolution to close the place, especially in emergencies and such. So,
Mhm.
No, and as Amanda said, you guys still have that final say of who you're renting to. It does come down to your comfort level, and the township's really aware and respectful of what you guys do.
yeah. My concern with a case by case is that every day we're going to be having a lengthy discussion about who we're going to rent to and who we aren't. I would suggest that maybe if it's one of our usual rentals, like yoga classes and stuff, let it go. And if there's one that Adam's just not sure about, that maybe then we discuss, as we have over the last few months, maybe not an official meeting, but we have discussed, you know, and we'll make sure that we point that out to him, that, you know, that if he's just not sure, to ask the group. What do you think of that, Calvin?
Yeah, no, I'm fine with that. I mean, I've had little sidebar conversations with him as well, as we're transitioning from me being the rental agent to him. So I have no problem helping out in that aspect as well while we're going through the
Sweet.
transition.
Well, thanks for that, by the way, helping him out. It's I'm so grateful he joined, but not nearly as grateful as I'm sure as you are. So Kayla, can you give us the resolution?
Yes.
And
Be it resolved that the Nottawa Hall Board hereby approve reopening in conjunction with an approved safety plan and a completed transfer of responsibilities form.
sounds right to me. Sounds
Yeah.
great to me, actually.
I'd like to put forward that motion.
All right.
And I'll
forwarded-
second that.
Seconded
Okay.
by Councillor Deneen, all in favor. Everybody, yay!
Hey.
Welcome back, Nottawa Hall.
I'm going to go over and as soon as you give me the go ahead, I'm going to go over, I'm going to put on the sign, Nottawa Hall is open for business.
You can
And
do
is there
that
a phone number? Is there a
anytime.
phone number I can put on there?
If you
Or
would,
an
if you would
email
like to put your
address?
phone number on there, Phyllis, feel free.
Yeah,
No,
just the
it would
email.
be an email address, right?
Just
Or-
the email.
Yeah.
Yeah, the
Well,
Nottawa Hall email.
somebody can let me know.
Yeah, well, anytime you feel ready to do that, you go to town. Well, literally go to town and do it. So that is awesome. This sure gives everybody, I hope, a little bit of a smile, a little spark, because it sure is doing it for me. I'm so happy to see the building going to be used again and not just sitting there collecting dust and dead flies. So yeah, very good. Very good. And thank you all for listening and paying close attention to Amanda, because when she and I talked, I was floored. I was like, nobody's going to believe me if I tell them what she was telling me about reopening and going, well, we can do whatever we want. That leads us to rental rates. And I don't really know why we're going to do much with this, because the booking agent has the right to up the rates if, so if the cleaning rate comes up, they can up it to whatever. So we don't really need to, but if we want to talk about raising the rates, we can. For
I think that
rentals.
was the main part there, Jason, was to protect ourselves to be able to raise in case cleaning rates went up. But we didn't at the time realize last meeting that the booking agent could just do it. So
Yeah.
I agree. We don't really necessarily have to talk to it. I do believe our cleaners rates have gone up a little bit. So
So we'll have to, our minimum rental will have to
adjust.
go up a little bit.
Yep.
To adjust for that. Patrice.
Does there have to be a COVID clean still?
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you.
Does there have to still be a COVID clean? The COVID level cleaning?
Yeah, there's a significant clean and our rates have gone up on it. Because every surface has to be cleaned now, not just floors.
And so that's in that contract is the point I'm making. Yes. Okay.
Yeah, I believe so. I haven't seen what Sean sent or what Carringham sent. So I'm not entirely sure what was on that paper, but I'm certain that they do understand that there's a significant amount, significantly more cleaning to be done. And I think that's why our rates have gone up a little.
Yeah, it's a little bit over $20 or so that it's gone up for clean.
I
According
completely
to
understand.
the email I got back. So,
Yeah, I completely understand why they have to do that. So I don't think that's necessarily a business decision as much as it is a, regulations decision for them. So the next thing is the AODA walkthrough, and I don't really know what the update is there because I haven't received anything from the township, I don't believe.
I think that's just if you had an update with your meeting. I think you were with Terry.
Yeah, I was with Terry and the Burnside people, but I thought we talked about this, but whatever. We went over a few things in the hall and ways to either save money in terms of reconstruction or ways to tear it down. And one of the suggestions I made was just getting rid of the stage, because they talked about the north side of the building. I wish I had the schematics I could show you and point it out to you, but I don't. The north side of the building, they were struggling with the amount of money it was going to cost because they had to replace the bar. And I said, well, I just said to them, I go, well, the pipes are right underneath the stage. Why don't you just move the bar to the stage and get rid of the stage? Because we've talked about moving it to the other end of the building behind Calvin there. And yeah. And so hopefully that they looked at that and thought it was a great idea and would save a lot of money. So I don't know. We went through things and they offered a few suggestions or what they're going to draw up as an estimate, but there really wasn't a lot to update. They were just looking at the cost to either fix it as is or knock it down and start over. And they're going to give that recommendation to council. So I gave them a few ideas on ways to maybe save a little bit of money here and there. And they also looked at the regulations a little looser than previously. Like previously, it was very strict. You have to have the ramp like this. You have to have an elevator, blah, 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 blah. Now they're like, well, hold on, maybe we can get away with blah, blah, blah. So they're a little more open to not necessarily, well, they're still following regulation, but not necessarily as strictly, And so that I thought that was good news for the hall, and not for those who want to have it knocked down, but for those who want to have it fixed and expanded. So anyway, we can save it,
I mean, there's something to be said about that too, Jason, in the aspect that, of my opinion, was if you're going to spend that much money to fix this hall, you might as well spend just a little bit more, take it down and go new.
Yeah.
If you can cut that money into a third, well, then maybe it is worthwhile fixing the hall to get there for it to be opening. But
I have a feeling that I have a feeling if there's too much cost in terms of having to put up a new building, the council may just decide not to do anything at all and knock it down. And I don't know that as a fact. I just know that could be an option for them because we put that in their hands, right? So
yep.
It's something they have to consider, right? I mean, it's a significant amount of money. And if the community's not going to support the hall, those are the things council has to weigh. And I'm grateful they have to weigh it and we don't, to be honest. I see Carrie has a question.
I just have a question. Just bring me up to speed, because I know we had that discussion in that group chat when council was meeting, but have I missed further council discussion since that one?
I don't think so.
Okay. I just wanted to.
I don't think there's been any public meetings about that. Has there, Councillor Deneen?
No, there hasn't been anything more than the last. It was the end of it, and the AODA, the walkthroughs again. And Jason, I think you and I discussed it when we had met at Duntroon Hall that time, and maybe that's what you were thinking. And I didn't want to give everybody secondhand news. I wanted you to tell them because you had been there. And that would be my fault, because I said you had told me a few things. You had told me about the stage part, and I didn't want to just throw that out there.
Yeah, I understand completely. I just couldn't remember whether we discussed this in a meeting already because I missed the last meeting.
No, it was.
It was just
we talked about it. Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
And no, there hasn't been anything more at all. That was the last I've heard of anything about the halls.
So I don't know where, like, there's no motion to pass or anything from here. We have to wait it out and see what the engineers and Terry come up with, and then what council decides. I mean,
ultimately it is their building. So
it is their building.
Yep.
Their decision. And rightfully so, we put that decision in their hands. And I know we're the only ones that did that, but it really makes a lot more. It's still that decision. I have lost no sleep over. It makes so much sense to me that it's the township's building and we're here to run it. That makes so much sense to me than and I understand that Sunnydale and Avening they work differently than we do. And, that's good for them. They're also established, been at this longer than we have. They have private money coming, I believe, in some cases coming in and things like that. And we don't have that. So I stand by that decision. I'll stand by that decision all day. I'm telling you, I think it's the absolute right thing that we did to pass that along, to put that onto council instead of onto us. So maintenance report, Calvin.
Okay, so one of the first things I wanted to bring up with the maintenance report is, since we're talking about that bar area and the plumbing, we still have those exposed pipes that come up from the kitchen that need to be covered before we hold any kind of big events, because that makes me nervous of those pipes bursting and water going everywhere and being a disaster. So did you still have someone lined up to potentially look at that, Jason?
Yeah, we weren't doing anything during COVID to them. So
understand. Yep.
And to be quite honest, for quite some time, we weren't even allowed in the building. So yeah, I'll stop in one day next week and with Bob Curry, and we'll have a look.
Perfect. Other than that, we have the new, if we're reopening, we should look at providing internet access again.
Yes.
So if we're good with that, I can
100%.
contact
Yep.
the
Do you know somebody?
Yes, he's got my email. I hear from him about every couple months now. Doug's finally managed to shift him onto me. He still attends to copy in the mayor, but it's been me communicating with him. So I will look that up and set that up to get it back. So will we need a resolution to do that? Or a resolution to pay that bill, or is just automatic?
I think that we've already had. I think we've already had a resolution to pay that bill.
Yeah, if that's in your budget and you usually put that in your budget, you should be fine.
Okay. Yeah. And then there's the question of the dumpster. Did we want to bring a dumpster back, or did we want to try to stick with this bin system? Because we've got 2 big garbage bins, 2 big recycling bins, and 2 big green bins. So it is there.
Said for that.
Yeah. However, it will require the team of us to make sure it's out every week and back.
Yeah.
And garbage day has changed, right? It's not Fridays in Nottawa anymore. It's now Wednesdays.
Yeah. I think that we can hold off talking about the bin until our next meeting, because I don't suspect we're going to have a whole lot of activity in the hall in the next few weeks.
Yep.
So let's just kind of hold off and live with the garbage cans that we've got. I'll get to you just one second, Carrie. We'll live with the garbage cans that we have for now. This is my opinion. You guys can, I'm open to whatever, but I think we just discuss it at the next meeting on whether or not we need it. Carrie, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I think it's worthwhile us exploring renters, especially big ones, that they're responsible for their own garbage.
I think other halls do that.
I think our hall has been like that. I may be mistaken, but years gone by. To me, I don't think for the small amount that we charge for a rental, I don't think it's fair that we're in charge of getting rid of the garbage too. So I think it's something that we should think about. If it was, a meeting or something like that, we've got those bins and we could take care of it. But when it's a big buck and dough or something like that, I think the renters personally, I think they should be responsible for removal of recyclables and garbage.
I think that's it.
We can think on it.
I think that's a great idea too. Let's have Kayla maybe put this on the agenda for the next meeting, and we can think about this for a month and maybe come up with a solution. But I like that too, Carrie. I think that's fantastic. I know there's one renter that is really bad. They leave these lobsters everywhere and stuff, and the remains of lobsters and the remains of laughs too, for that matter. Anyway,
the last thing I'd like to get to on the maintenance report is don't drop it now. Don't lose my train of thought. Dropped it. Carry on. Forgot
right,
what
if
it
it comes
was.
back to you,
It will, don't worry.
we'll deal with it when it comes back. Booking update. I don't suspect there's too many
Furnace,
bookings.
sorry, I'm gonna jump in now.
Hey, come on.
Furnace inspection. I know there is a budget automatic that I can use per year for maintenance in the building. I'm going to use part of that to have a furnace company come in and do the annual furnace inspection. But I just wanted to put that out in their meeting so it's documented that I'm doing that.
All right. All right. Good.
Okay.
Now booking update, Calvin. No, I'm just kidding. Adam's not here to discuss that, but I don't suspect there's all that many bookings currently, but we will ask that he turns off that automatic, or I don't mind the automatic response. But turn off at least the fact that that we aren't open because.
Yeah, no, I'm gonna talk to Adam about changing the response to something of the fact that we're a volunteer board organization. Please allow up to 48 hours for us to get back to
I don't
you
even
on
think
your
you need to.
questions.
Yeah, I don't even think you need to do that. I think that you could give us up to 48 hours to get back to you on this. I don't think you need to go into too much detail about who we are. Just keep it simple. The KISS method. Just a
Sure.
thought. Because there's nothing worse than getting emails that are, oh, that's what I was looking for there. 48 hours. Yeah. Yeah, for sure. But that's something we can also discuss that we don't need to discuss here. We can discuss in the chat.
Yep.
If we choose to. Upcoming and past events. Well, while I was talking to Amanda the other day, she suggested that maybe we start planning for our beer festival again. And I was like, yeah, we have 5 months until, like, because we had planned to move it to April. I don't know if you remember that we talked about that because the breweries all asked us to. They said January just wasn't working for them. And you could see by the attendance that it wasn't working for them. So they asked us to move it to April. And I know I brought this up like a year ago.
I do remember being it brought up that we move it. I don't remember what we fell on, but I do remember low turnouts because weather was bad and storms and to that effect.
And the fact that the breweries just didn't have staff to send to us at that time of year. So it was like so the Wasaga guys actually said, if you move it to April, we can get there, it's a lot easier for us. Cause remember, they just sent stuff and said, here, you hand it out. Right. And that's not ideal for them or us. Right.
And April's probably really good for them too, because our event could be used as a warm-up event for training their staff in a sense as well for the spring, summer, which I'm sure we're okay with as well, right?
Good idea.
For sure. Yeah. Yeah. So if you guys want to move forward with it, we can start the planning of that very soon. I'll start sending out some emails to some people, or maybe I'll just stop in and visit a few breweries. I've done that once or twice. Have some Thornbury right here.
Need a sidekick.
Yeah, sure. You can come along.
Maybe it should be a team event.
All right. Well, Patricia, you can go to Wasaga because you're there.
Yep.
Counselor Deneen and Calvin can go to the door knock.
Do you know what though? I don't drink beer, so I'll drive you guys around.
Yeah, well, there's cider as well. Anyway, I think that maybe we should start planning an event, and maybe people are ready for it. I don't know. Maybe they're not. But
it wouldn't hurt to put some teasers out.
Yeah, and to be quite honest, the event doesn't cost us a lot. So I would think that maybe we should pass a motion for a budget just to get it started of maybe $2,000. We never use all that, but for marketing and advertising and any costs that may come up, just to have it in case I got to go get the liquor license and blah, 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 blah. Does that make sense, Kayla?
Yep, I support that.
All right. So I can see that Patrice is bringing forth a motion to to set aside $2,000 worth of budget for the Arts and Craft Beer Festival 2022, Beer and Cider Festival 2022. Seconded, Calvin. All in favor? Oh, thank you, Carrie. It's just in case there's any costs to
No,
get
no,
us started.
do we want to talk about dates? That's where my head's.
Well, we don't need to do that here. We can do that in the group chat
Okay,
because we don't need to pass a motion, I don't think, to host an event. We're just a renter of the hall at that time.
okay.
Well, you just did by creating a budget, so there you go.
Oh, then we covered our butts. Sweet. And who knows, we may decide that it's just not doable in the short amount of time that we have to create it, but
So then we can just move it on to May.
yeah. And then we're into beer festivals and we'll never get them here.
Is it one
but-
day?
Huh?
Is it just one day, like the
Yeah,
Saturday?
it's one day. Yeah,
And just daytime or day and evening?
just daytime. We ended around
Okay.
6 or 7 o'clock.
Good.
I
okay.
think maybe we go to 8. We might go to 8, but
Okay.
it's the idea is not to have people sitting there drinking all day. That's not what it's about. It's just a sample thing. You come in, you spend a couple hours, you talk to the brewers or the breweries and their staff and find out about the beer. And then you move on and the next group comes in. It's really the ideal. The first year we did it was fantastic. It just flowed, like it was beautiful. And then struggled after that, but weather and other things kind of got in our way.
There's 5 Saturdays in April in 22.
Yeah, is one of them Easter weekend? Probably.
If it is, it would probably be the 9th. So
Okay.
the 16th to the 23rd would work.
All right. Well, let's discuss that in the group chat and then we'll make that happen. So we can get, everybody can have a say on it. Doug and Adam and Jordy and
Easter's actually the 16th, 17th.
oh, there you go.
That
So
late?
it won't be that weekend.
No. obviously.
New business COVID update. Well, I don't think we need to go any further into that, do we?
No, you received it.
I think we got that. Next meeting will be December the 9th, 2021 at 7:30 PM. It says the 8th here, but I believe we just said to move to the Thursday again. Does that work for you, Kayla?
Anything for you guys.
Oh, she's so
Thank
nice.
you.
Well, that's everything, unless there's any new business that we need to talk about.
Good.
Oh, Carrie?
No, just motion to adjourn.
Oh, motion to adjourn by Carrie, seconded by Calvin, all in favor. Everybody, sweet. Thanks, everybody.